While discussing that samadhi, we are discussing that there are two things to be known. One is called upadhi, other one is called tattva. So that upadhi is called varna and tattva is called atma. In short, upadhi is mithya because it gives anyatha jnanam, whereas tattva is satya, the truth. And in short also, including, here he used the word upadhi, varna prachyate. So varna means including pranava, including Ishvara also comes under upadhi. And of course, while discussing, for that one is supposed to do abhyasam. Because without abhyasam, abhyasam means you can say constant practice. Definitely sadabhyasena. Without abhyasam, without practice, without abiding with, without dwelling upon, definitely this knowledge is not going to benefit me. We have discussed this much in the last class. Continuing. Sabdadina chatan matram yavat karnadi shustitam tavadeva smutam dhyanam samadhi syadata param. So here also we need to understand the concept how this works. We say very carefully that when you are being seated and as long as you are able to hear sound, as long as you are able to smell, as long as you are able to feel the air, suppose fan moves or some wind comes, and of course the taste bud is not involved, eyes supposed to be closed, okay? So that's why other two I don't bring it. So he brings these three especially. Sabdadina. So adi sabdena, shabda means sound, adi sabdena, sparsha and grana iti. Smell and sense of touch, both. And related to karna, ear, nose and skin. Tavadeva smrutam dhyanam. So that long you are in dhyana. So you cannot say that is called samadhi. Now question arises. Then why and how you call this dhyanam and what is samadhi? Earlier he has already pointed out that working constantly with upadhi, or you can say resolving upadhi in tattvam, that too constantly will bring a person to samadhi. Because the job of, in Adhyasa Bhashyam being talked very nicely, that it is natural for a common jiva, that superimposition will happen. That's why in the last class I was highlighting this aspect, how our childhood impression gets carried forward, not only whole life, through the lens of the experience that we had in our childhood. We try to live our life throughout. Because this is natural, this superimposition happens. And while discussing this thing, says very carefully, a person has to spend as much as time. The way we spend time, especially nowadays with the phone, as the phone is part of our life, so also here that sort of commitment at least should start. And when this commitment, or you can say the person starts spending time, then what happens? He says beautifully, this is what the confusion starts from, especially Shunyavadi comes. So Shunyavadi, we have a terminology, okay? Shunyavadi. Shunyavadi means those who believe in nothingness. So from nothing, this creation has come. And again, the creation will go back to nothing. And in short, who are they? Do you know? One of you know? Who are they? Good. Buddhist. That's why when Adi Shankaracharya, he started defending, and of course one side Kumari Lavhatta and others to protect Karma Kanda, and Adi Shankaracharya came for Jnana Kanda. Now this Shunyavadi, we call them, because they believe in the emptiness, nothingness. And that's why that whole approach of their life is to make mind empty. So no thought is called nirvana. How does that concept come? We can look at from this verse little carefully. That this verse tries to point out, okay? It's not that this verse they followed is wrong, okay? Because Gorakshanath, technically speaking, Gorakshanath has come later on, long after Buddha. Definitely. So then we cannot say that, so Buddha followed this from this verse is wrong, okay? So we have to be extremely careful what we are talking it, okay? So long before Buddhism was there, so Gorakshanath has joined in between, okay? So he says this point that when there is no sound heard, because he uses the word implication, meaning as long as the sound, etc. are heard or experienced, that long it is called as dhyana. Then what happens? More than that, param, other than that, more than that, higher than that, is called samadhi. So this is the statement. Now what it becomes easier for a common person to understand? So as long as I don't hear, that means as long as something is there, I can hear. When there is nothing, how can I hear? It's like when I say simple thing, this is what we use the word. Now I say that what is there on my hand, on my palm here? When I say there is no object, so it does not mean that there is nothing in my hand. Yes, there are no objects, correct statement. But because there are no object, can you say, oh, there is nothing in your hand? Is it right? Technically it's wrong. But for a common person, for common parlance, for ordinary thinking people, yes, there is nothing. In fact, there is nothing. If there is something, prove me. You understand? But when you look at it scientifically, when you try to understand little carefully, in fact, there are plenty of things. And they will say, in fact, there is no hand, okay? There is only space. That's another level. So how that works, same thing also here. In fact, here we say that very carefully, that when a person discovers that manasa vyapara becomes shunyam. So manasa vyapara means the transaction of mind comes to zero, comes to halt. That is what sometimes we call as samadhi. So that the jiva cannot respond. And because mind has come to zero, so the connection between the mind and sense organs are completely cut off. That's why when you spend time, you'll be able to understand. Especially when you sit in one place for more than 2-3 hours, you will discover even the sound comes somewhere outside. In the beginning, sound will be heard very loudly. Slowly, you will discover sound will not be heard much. And even if sound comes, there will be some type of response. No reaction, response. Basically, response starts. So, the sound will reach very late. Then, mind will say, what is that sound? Other mind say, how does it matter to you? So who is going there? Find out. It's not laziness, you understand? So you are so happy, comfortable, it's like a child enjoying chocolate, that too in a dark room. And that time, mother calls, hey, come, we'll go out. What the child do? Will not respond. Why to go? Anandam. So how that happens? Same state of mind a person enjoys before samadhi. And of course, till that time it is called dhyanam. And when there is no sounds, means there is no reaction at all. That is what is called as samadhi. In fact, the German one of the university in Germany, they were experimenting on Kundalini. And they came up with this thing. In fact, I was watching the whole situation with the help of IIT Madras. That they were experimenting on this, that whether your Kundalini is raised or not. So whether you are in samadhi or not. So the concept was that very nicely. In short, I don't want to get into too details. In short, mind must not react. So purposefully they will put, suddenly, those days, 1,000, 2,000 watt of light on your face. Even though you are keeping your eyes closed, sudden light. So when sudden light hits, so definitely mind has to react. So then they will put all these things, even if you don't shake, but mentally something has to happen. So then they try to try to read that. So the graphs will come. Suddenly they will, make a huge noise. Bam! That too with a loudspeaker. And of course, suddenly they will blow the air. So all this sabdadini, okay? Just I am trying to tell you. Suppose if it does not create any sort of response in your mind, that means the mind is completely cut off from this tanmatras, from these sense organs. And whatever happens in the external world, mind does not respond at all. And that is, in short, is called samadhi. Please, then how to find out? How long one should practice? He gives very clear indication. Dharana panchanadibhi dhyanam cha shashtanadibhi dhinadvadesekena syat samadhi prana sanyamat. So this nadi here stands for a given time. Actually is considered as 1 hour. So dharana to be practiced for 5 hours. And dhyanam for 6 hours. Whereas, if you want to go for samadhi, so that means what? Dhyana, dharana, put together 11 hours, okay? Don't say 5 hours I did, then no problem, I got up. So then again, over, no. Again let me sit for 6 hours. Dhyana and dharana, 11 hours put together. Then after that, you will see the difference, number 1. Number 2, he says, that is called samadhi. Prana sayammanam. One is supposed to completely regulate one's own prana. Not allowing the prana to be engaged in anything. Just observe this point. When you are closing your eyes, the moment sound comes, you hear, after hearing, no problem. What happens? You allow your mind to find out what is that sound, where from comes, why did it comes. Then of course many things. Only this is the time to come. Then complaint comes, you know what other things comes, okay? Now in this process, how much prana did you lose? Did you lose your prana or not? So there is no prana here, there is no prana samyamanam. There is no regulation of your prana. So that's why this is a small example. So he who does prana samyamanam for 12 days. Remember continuously, okay? Not today. Let me stop. After 2 days we'll start. Then 2 days, after 2-3 days. Swamiji, I calculated everything now 12 days. What to do? Yeah, thank you. It is like exactly people wants to lose their weight. So what they do? So few days dieting, then they will stop and eat, keep eating. Then again, then finally what happens? Instead of losing, you discover you start gaining, okay? Same thing also. Instead of going to Samadhi, you will go to some other place, okay? How? Then how is it? He gives the example. Let us read. Yat sarva yat sarvare nashta yoikyam jivatma paramatmano samasta nashta sankalpaha samadhi savidhiyate. So if we look at this point very carefully, yat sarva dvandayo aikyam. So that means here very nicely says, in samadhi, that all the dvandas, dvanda means pairs of opposites, yatha sukha dukkham, ushma shitam. So pairs of opposites like happiness, misery, heat, cold, punyam, papam, good, bad. So all these are called dvanda, pairs of opposites. So where all the pairs of opposites, including Jivatma, Paramatma, that is also pairs of opposite. So I am individual, God is totality. So where these two becomes one and same, there is no difference. Why and how? That also will be discussing this point very carefully. Because, and that is what is called samastha nashta sankalpa. So there is no sankalpa at all, no resolution, no thinking process. That is what is called samadhi. We say very carefully, the difference between dhyanam and samadhi is this. As long as there is a triputi, that long is dhyana. Means dheya has to be there, number one. Dheya means the object to be meditated. Object of meditation. Then dhyata, the one who meditates, the meditator. So I should be there thinking that I am meditating. And also dhyanam, the process of meditation. So wherever there is a triputi, these three things exist. Or as long as these three things exist, that long you are in dhyana. Whereas in samadhi, forget triputi, even if dvanda does not exist. Two things do not exist. So that means what? That there is no dheya, object to be meditated. And of course there is no dhyata, the meditator. So when there is no meditator, there is no object of meditation. Then what happens? dhyanam, the meditation itself drops. It is exactly like sleeping example we give. So when you go to sleep, that you want to sleep, so that is to be achieved, the sleep. Now you are sleeper, if that is word, okay? So you are a sleeping person. I would rather say sleeping, lying down person, okay? Preparing yourself. Now there is a process of sleeping or achieving sleep. As long as these three are continuing, that long, are you really in sleep? It is just a process. But once sleep takes over, we use the word sleep takes over. Is there any person who is sleeping? Is there any process of sleeping? Is there something to be achieved called sleep? So all the three triputis becomes one and same result. So also samadhi. Continuing. Nagandham narasam narupam rupam na chasparsham na nishonam natmanam na paraswam cha yogi yukta samadhina. He says, look, when the yogi is in samadhi, and of course you can say when the person is endowed with the samadhi, what happens? There is no gandha. So there is no smell. There is no rasa, there is no taste. There is no rupa, there is no form, no sparsha, no touch. So when these are not there, definitely what happens? He says, no atmanam, no paratswam ithi. And because of that reason, so here there is nothing called mine, there is nothing called others. I think, I went a little ahead, I think, huh? Did I skip few verses? That's why I did not get the feedback from any one of you. Okay, sorry. Ambu sandhebhayo aikyam yatha bhavati yogatah tathatma soreikyam manasohaikyam samadhi sobhidhiyate. So he gives a beautiful example that the salt and water. Actually, salt has got different properties. Visible, have space, one's own, presence, individuality, everything. But same salt, when resolved in water, do you find salt? Is there anything called salt? So you may say salty water because of your knowledge. But there is no salt. Salt has no presence. So how does it happen? He says, in the same we, because of yoga, so that means yoga means what? Here, because of all these practices, so that person comes to the samadhi. There what happens? Atmanah manasah aikyam iti. Atma and mind becomes one and same. So the mind is not different from Atma. That's why PujyaSwami used to highlight very nicely that when you understand not only giver is God, but also giving is God, that time you really appreciate God. All of us, we know giver is God. But until and unless we understand giving also is God, we will not be able to appreciate God's creation either. In fact, we will start judging. So same thing here is being highlighted, that the mind and Atma has to be resolved through the process of yoga, as the salt is resolved in water. Then what happens? Yes, mind does not create any problem for me. And when mind does not create any problem for me, I am entirely different. More of it will say.